was weird. It was supposed to switch. Welcome back, Crime Spies. Today is episode 8 of the series Justice or Injustice. The troubling trial of Zachariah Anderson. Pardon me for being late a few minutes. It is also hat day because I plugged in my water pick and not my curlers hot rollers. I only had time to do the ends. You do not want to see what's under the hat, but you're not here to see me. You're here to see this justice unfold. Injustice unfold. We're going to have a very short episode 8 today because Niklas starts with an S. Don't know how to pronounce it. The guy from Sweden with the long beard and long hair, Mr. Jingles, that wants to unalive him. That guy. The link is in the description box underneath this video. So I'm not going to stall and go through things right now. Becca Lynn, I just posted a way. Hello and happy Friday. I just posted a way too long comment on last night's video. You must have felt me thinking about you guys. I finished the trial and would love to see and chat with you guys. I made this hat. Actually, Stray is here. Okay, so I have a couple things now. So the hat I made, I have a matching cowl, which is over there on the floor. I also have another hat very similar to this that's a little tighter weave. These are what I've been trying to make back here. And the other day someone had mentioned something about like doing a raffle or something, or I don't know, do it like, like part of the fundraiser for Zachariah Anderson. I don't know. Like I said, I kind of want to just get the trial footage going because there's so many things rolling around in my head. And Stray, I had another thing I wanted to run past you. Is there such a thing as a channel that has like non-moderator moderators? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it be nice to streamline so that, this, I've, been around the true crime community for a little while here. And, these women, I'm assuming women, mostly, these people, let's just say, they're all over the place. And they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart and, for sharing, other people's content, for posting links to, ZachariahAnderson.org and other things. So wouldn't it? So, I'm just thinking like it would be nice to just like every time we think of something, just add it to the description box so then it's there. We can just point people there. You know what I mean? So you can sit back and chill and relax and, watch the trial and not have to worry about stuff. I'm just thinking out loud. June is here. You're on lunch break. Yay! Oh, and here's another thing. Snow Angel. Crime Spies couldn't find her eye drops that make her eyes white either. What is that stuff called? Lumify? It's magic. I also wanted to say that, let's see, where's my camera? I had a smart little quip. So I was just kind of like looking around and I thought this would be appropriate when I welcome everyone going forward. Orange, you outraged by this injustice? And for you young ones, the teenagers like Lily's friends, here's a little tiny one too. Aren't you outraged by what's happened with this? Okay, so there's that. I also found, I couldn't find the Zelda wow sound for the judge with the orange, but I did find another Zelda. I don't know what it's called, but it's perfect. So now I just got to find, I was like looking for the footage of the judge in the orange. Couldn't find it anywhere. Just that clip. So then I was like rewatching Veilhammer's video and I couldn't find, I searched and I couldn't find it. So then I noticed today when I was like cutting and pasting the description from yesterday, because I'd added a bunch of links in there, MLS's closing arguments, or video I put in there. And I was thinking, what was I thinking? Oh my God, see how it just totally goes away? I forget now. Damn it. See, I gotta write these things down. Oh, I know what it was. I had noticed that I actually have a transcript for my live stream. And I thought I disabled that feature because, in my opinion, if they crawl your live streams, you know, maybe that's why you're getting thrown in jail all the time. So I'm going to look and see if I can't find where I said orange and rewind and orange, and then I'll cut it from there. But the sound effect is absolutely perfect. It's 6 seconds long. That's all you get. That's all the spoiler you get. And also, I don't have it here. I posted it on my X account. So last night when I was finished, I opened my door and on the floor, right out on the carpet outside my door, was this box of chocolates. And Lily had wrote a big heart on it and said, "For after your live. Love, Lily." Isn't that cute? Oh, she warms my heart. They all do. All right. And then I also wanted to change. Oops, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how. I must have somehow witchy pooed that. Oh, now you can't see me. Oh, God. Hold on. Cut. Oh, good. That was really sweet. She's such a little sweet little peanut head. All right, now I'm gonna turn that off and then display. Okay, it's there. And open this. Hi, Christine. Broken Baker is here. 6 seconds, that's a long time. I found your comment. About the okay, so a friend of mine posted on my community page. Oh, there's Botrix. See how it says Botrix has correctly joined the channel? Supposedly, Botrix is supposed to automatically post links based on what I say. I just haven't figured out how to use it. Broken Baker commented on my thing about the cherry pie my friend brought over and wanted to technically know if that's actually still considered baking a cherry pie. Hi, Arends. Happy Friday. It's hat day. It's hat day. Okay. See, I could just ramble and I don't want to do that. Because, okay. So, Jessika For Justice. I was watching her this morning. I also either did or plan on posting her link. She's a new true crime channel. I found her through watching Murder Church with Publicly Buzzed. Steve. You know how much I love Steve. And she's absolutely fantastic. She's also one of those ones that, you know, is searching for justice for the victims. She's awesome. So we made it through this lady here, correct? Oh, yes, we were on Zachariah's employers. Let's just back it up a hair and catch the beginning of it, because I believe this is when the glitch problem. I'd meant to test the limits in OBS and see if I could maybe fine tune it. Did not have time for that. Okay, all right, so just one moment again. I told Lily last night that I'm so excited this channel is finally getting to where I had always visioned it would be. Meaning, you know, people coming and sharing their ideas. And frankly, I would really love it if, where did I put this? I would really love it if people that find him, you know, that think he's guilty and the jury made the right verdict. I would actually like to see more of the people that think he's guilty come and join us. So we can, you know, like see what their opinion is, like what made them think that the jury had it right, if that makes sense. And, you know, it seems to be certain themes, like the fire on his property is one sticking point. That is, you know, the fire and the buttons, and he burned his clothes. The carpet missing in the back of the minivan is another thing. I know a lot of people are talking about where I haven't seen yet, but Sadie's testimony about his, you know, stalking, for example. So, you know, it would be kind of nice to see like what swayed their opinion thinking he was guilty. And maybe they were, maybe that was true, for example. Maybe we don't have a counter offer to their theory, but I'm finding in some cases there's a reasonable explanation. Or like, for example, there's something I was thinking about the other day with regards to there, I think that's all I'm going to tinker with for now. There's something the other day with regards to, I don't remember what it was. And then there was like an explanation for it. Also, for those of you who are not used to watching live streams with OBS, I like this better because then instead of okay, so for starters, when you're a one man or woman operation, there's so many things to pay attention to. You got to make sure, you know, your health of your live stream, for example, is healthy, and you know, talking to people and paying attention to what's going on with the trial. And, you know, it seems like there's just so much. And I just really like the fact that you can put the chat on so all the messages come. There is a way for me to make it transparent. I just got to remember what the number is for the background. So as you can see, as I'm talking underneath here, the comments are coming in at the top. The new ones are coming in at the top, and they kind of slide in. So hopefully you'll get used to that. I still got to kind of fix the space around in here, but I'm not going to tinker anymore because we just need to get started. So again, we're just going to rewind back to the beginning of this lady here. She is Zachariah Anderson's employer at the time that the victim went missing. Thank you for joining me. And I'm going to start taking notes because there's so many more things I want to say, but it's already been 15 minutes of me rambling.
I have nothing based on that. Thank you.
Oh, and today is actually day 1,320.
Ready for the next witness, Judge?
Yes.
All right. State calls Susan Brown Williams.
That Zachariah Anderson has been incarcerated. It's around 3 years, 7.5 months. Oh my God, don't give me the spins right off the chute. Actually, when I was in Jessica's chat this morning, see if I make it too small, you can't see. When I was in Jessica For Justice's chat this morning.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this
Steve
matter
from Publicly Buzzed was in there, and I kind of explained the fact that I had the spins on YouTube, and it kept telling me I was not connected to the internet. Meanwhile, watching it on the other Rumble and Kick.
Sound. This is a tough room to hear in. Can you do that for me?
Okay.
Thank you. Can you state your first and your last name and spell your last name for the record?
I'm Susan Brown Williamson. My last name is BROWN-Williamson.
And so how do we spell Williamson?
WILLIAMSON.
Thank you. Ma'am, back during the time period of May 17th, 2020, did you own a residence in the municipality town of Belgium, Wisconsin?
Yes.
And was that at 309 Cedar Beach Road?
Yes.
And was it in May of 2020?
Pause. Okay, I just want to read. Stray, I haven't had a chance to read your comment, but I want to read these. Okay, so I'm seeing clapping. Okay. So after I finished the trial, my position is there was enough probable cause to consider Zachariah Anderson a person of interest. The police's failure to investigate further is a travesty. There are clearly unanswered questions and missing information from this picture. I'm not satisfied that they pursued Mr. Anderson to the exclusion of all other possibilities. Following that came a trial full of wrongdoings and miscarries of justice. Was the mistrial not the first red flag? Of course it was. Okay, so now I got to read the comment. I wonder if I could do that. Okay, so I went into more specific details in the comment. I can copy paste it for you if you guys want me to. Oh, I do want to share my feelings on the sentencing because I just watched that before coming here. I wrote okay, I'll continue with the trial and then end with the sentencing. It's a pretty scary thought that Kenosha is so short on judges that they had to hold their breaths for Schrader to make it out of the hospital and back onto the bench for this one. Should righteousness win the day and Zach his appeal, who will oversee this new trial? My first commentary here on Crime Spies was my disbelief at how this judge handled objections, allowing the attorneys to flesh out their arguments fully in front of the jury. If the judge sustained the objection, there was no point by then. The judge's refusal to do sidebars and instead constantly sending the jury from the room, I wonder at the ratio of time the jury spent out of the courtroom versus in it, and what effect that had on them. The judge's ramblings, often forgetting where he was going to make a point. Seems to me he was enjoying his last publicized case to the last drop. Perhaps more egregious of all to me was allowing the marijuana evidence in. There's no way this was more probative than prejudicial by any means of the imagination. Followed by the DA not disclosing what the daughter had told them about being threatened by a nug. After they argued, they be allowed to ask questions about it, and knew the defense would ask follow-up questions about it, and they went to a separate room to discuss it. They withheld what they knew and allowed the defense to walk right into that blind. More manipulative, snaky games by the DA. That was also another fire alarm moment by the judge to avoid a sidebar, instructing that the attorneys and defense and the witness, who happened to be his daughter, should go into a private room alone together to hash out the business about the nug. We're not that far yet. That might have been the biggest indication to me that this judge is absolutely bonkers. Orange, you glad you watched this trial? So, going forward in future trials that we see on live streamed through Court TV and whatever, that oftentimes looking at it without influence from other people and just focusing on the facts. I mean, that's really important that you said that. I mean, and of course, allowing the jury to hear that the defense could have done all the testing they wanted to, but didn't. Having to explain the burden of proof to the judge only to be ignored by him. Those are the ones that stand out the most, even though there are more. So for those reasons and more, I wholeheartedly support Zachariah's case for appeal. I'm watching the sentencing now, and the judge is refusing Soloman permission to speak on behalf of Zachariah, and once again, I am outraged. Chain of custody. That's awesome, Becca. Glad you posted your thoughts. I have never seen this before as a non-emotional statement. The loved ones of the convicted are not criminals. The loss to them is valid, and they have the right to speak. There are many times in this trial I have felt outrage over the decisions made by the court, and here is the one that will echo on for me. Adding to that, the prosecution relied heavily on Zach's prior Mary Jane possession conviction as a description, and it wasn't a conviction. It was a pending, it was in the process. That's my understanding, at least. As a description of his character to support a heavy sentence. In what other way can she spell out blatantly that introducing the Mary Jane found at the house was done so with the intention of prejudicing. I'm just going to skip that word. I know it in my head, but it's not coming out. The jury. And any other reason given was absolute hogwash. That's basically the comment. Thank you so much, Becca Lynn. Everybody, this is really important. I'm happy to be able to share. See, do you see why there has to be like unbiased coverage of this without the salacious headlines and letting people see what is happening and make up their own minds. Ronald Reagan said, "Trust but verify." I'm very glad I watched this trial. This trial is really instructive. Yeah, and like I said, Timothy Bleefnick comes to mind. I don't know who watched that trial. I'm on the fence, but again, someone yesterday said in his trial there's a man seen on security camera walking to and from her home Also, within just a few days prior to her unaliving, there was a man seen on security footage who had been burglarizing cars in the neighborhood. I don't know. If there's a maybe or two plausible scenarios, it should be not guilty. He was charged also for first-degree premeditated murder. I'm pretty sure the judge threw away the key for him, too. I'm very glad I watched this. We are glad you were here. So insightful. The Wisconsin Supreme Court frowns on sidebars. Huh. That's an interesting nugget. Thank you, John Gary. I'm feeling that sentencing big time. It had an effect on me. Okay, I know what he was sentenced, but the Wisconsin Supreme Court wants discussion of objections to be on the record. Can't it be on the record yet outside the presence of the court? Okay, let's get back to the testimony. Becca Lynn, thank you very much. Well, this is a thing of beauty, in my opinion.
Were you trying to do some renovation or work on that property?
Yes.
Did you hire someone to help you with the demolition part of your renovations?
I did.
And is anyone that you hired to do some of the demolition for that property here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Okay. Could you point out where the person is who was hired to do some of that demolition and just indicate what that person is wearing today?
He's wearing a grayish shirt and a suit and tie.
Point to that individual as well? Okay. Thank you, Judge. I'd ask that the record reflect that Ms. Brown-Williamson has identified the defendant. Ms. Brown-Williamson, in general, what was the work that the defendant was being asked to perform?
Hi, Brandon.
He was doing demo on an old house that preparing for a remodel.
And so
I
what
think
rooms
she's
of the
got some
house
type
was the
of
defendant
lozenge.
involved in demolitioning for you?
Perhaps
or doing
a
demo
fisherman's
for?
friend.
What rooms of the house? The whole house or just specific rooms?
The kitchen and 2 bathrooms.
Okay. And how was, to the extent that you know, how was the defendant accomplishing that? Was he using a vehicle, or how was he moving things out of that house for you?
So he was demoing and then bagging things up and using his vehicle and my trailer to haul stuff away.
And was your trailer something that could be pulled with a vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Did the defendant do this work by himself, or did he have assistance, if you know?
Mostly by himself, and then sometimes he'd have a helper.
And about how many times do you believe he performed work at your house?
I would guess maybe 8 or 10 times.
And the 309 Cedar Beach Road address, where is that in proximity to Lake Michigan?
It's about a long city block off the shore.
And are there any state parks or significant parks in the vicinity of 309 Cedar Beach Road?
The Harrington Beach State Park is across the street.
I'm going to now turn your attention specifically to the date of Monday, May 18th of 2020. Did you have any contact with the defendant that you are aware of?
Not that I recall.
And when you had contact with the defendant, what were the means by which you and he communicated?
Typically phone text.
Okay. So you didn't utilize Facebook Messenger or any of those other services to contact or be in touch with the defendant?
No.
Okay. And is the defendant a person who in some way is connected to any of your children?
How we know Zach is we knew his brother before, so he's the brother of somebody who my son has known for a while.
Okay. And during the renovation of 309 Cedar Beach Road, what was the standard procedure if the defendant was going to do work at that location in terms of any contact with you?
We would often text. I might say I'm going to the house that day, or he might say he's going to the house that day. There wasn't a regular work schedule.
During the time period of May 17th and 18th of 2020, did anyone reside at that property, live there on a daily basis?
In 2020, no.
And was that a residence, again, in that period of May 17th through May 19th of 2020? Was it a residence that the defendant, Zachariah Anderson, would be able to enter without you being on premises? Did he know, for instance, where a key was?
Yes.
Were you present at that residence at one point when a search was conducted at that residence?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you recall about who was searching?
I got a call that Kenosha police were going there, and could I come there? And they had been there once before. It was just 2 or 3 officers that first time, and then I did go up there. I was on my way to Green Bay because my mom was sick, and so I stopped there on the way, and there were a lot of cars and a lot of officers, and there was a cadaver dog. And so I had to stay in the front yard. One of the officers stood and talked with me in the front yard. I couldn't go in or be anywhere on the property while they were there.
And in general, without asking any more details, how long did it appear how long were you there at the property while somebody was looking around or searching?
How long was I there? They were there before me, but so I'm not sure how long they were there, but I was there probably an hour or so.
When you left, were people still doing some sort of search?
I think I locked up.
Okay, so you think they were concluded when you left?
Yeah, somebody, the person with the dog had left a little earlier. I think he went to the park.
All right, I have no further questions.
Spence?
You had mentioned that Mr. Anderson was doing demo on your house, and you had mentioned something about him taking the debris back to his house.
Yes.
And do you know how he would do that?
He would use my trailer, an aluminum utility trailer, and he would use an old minivan that he had. He took all the seats and carpet and stuff out of it and was just using it like in lieu of a pickup truck, but he had a minivan, so he put all the stuff in there.
Did you say that he took the carpet out?
It was an old vehicle that was gutted, and then he used it to haul stuff from my, the dirty lath and plaster and all of the stuff that he was finding in the walls.
And to your knowledge, would he use trash bags to put the demo, the lath, the plaster in?
Yeah, he used big black trash bags and some trash cans from my property, and probably some of his own trash cans.
And then he would put it in the back of his van and then transport it back to his house because he had a dumpster there?
Yes.
Now, when, on May 28th, 2020, when law enforcement was at your property in Belgium and you were there, had you, after they left, had you walked around your property?
I went inside. I went in and turned off some lights. I didn't go all around the whole property. It's only an acre and a half, but I didn't walk around outside much. I just closed the garage door and turned off lights and stuff.
Okay, and the time that you had walked around on that day, did you observe anything which was in your mind suspicious or out of place, out of the normal?
I can't think of anything. The cadaver dog tinkled in the basement.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Okay. And then after this has all happened, have you been back to the property since?
Yes.
And from that day to the present day, have you ever noticed anything suspicious, out of the normal, as it would have related to why law enforcement was at your house on May 28th, 2020?
No.
I have no further questions.
Ms. Brown-Williamson, I think you mentioned the carpet in the van. You don't know anything about the condition of the carpet in the defendant's van, do you?
I don't think there was any.
You are indicating you are aware that that there was no carpet in the van?
Well, the last time I saw Zach, I was standing on the driveway, and the van doors were open.
That made
and there
me
was
very
a ton
happy.
Of stuff piled in there. There wasn't any carpet in there, I don't think. And then
This is making me
then
very
they
happy.
closed it up, hooked up my trailer, which also was heaped. The back of the van was heaped with debris, trash bags and stuff, and then so was my trailer. But when I first walked out the back door, the van doors were open. The trailer wasn't hooked up yet.
Have you ever offered to law enforcement that you noticed something about the carpet being missing in the van? Have you ever said that to any law enforcement officer?
The only thing I said about the vehicle that it was gutted, I said that he was using an old van that he gutted to use for hauling stuff. But I don't know if I said that in person or over the phone.
Well, do you recall speaking to the Kenosha DA's office and not offering any information prior at the Kenosha DA's office about the carpet condition in the van?
I probably didn't mention specifically, seats or carpet or whatever else. But I would have just said it was gutted.
Okay.
Did I fix it? Oh, I did fix the day.
So your belief is that the last time you saw this van, it had no carpet in it. It was a van without carpet in the back, correct?
Correct. I don't think so.
All right. I have nothing else.
No further questions.
You may sit down, ma'am.
So basically, she confirmed the carpet wasn't there to begin with? Question mark?
State?
Yeah, state calls Andrew Schultz to the stand.
All right, Bielhammer was nice enough to put in the description box I am freezing. Zach's friend, Andrew Schultz. And then that will be the end of this day, day 8 of testimony. We will begin day 9, and then we will close a few minutes before Niklas. Last name starts with an S. He's Swedish, long beard, long hair, cat named Mr. Jingles, who apparently is a hair on the vicious side. Look at he's smiling at his friend. Yes, Starow. And I can't redirect because I don't have 500 subscribers yet. But the link is in the description box underneath. I actually moved it up to the top right after the day.
Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the
I
truth,
think
the
I
whole
gotta
truth,
turn my heater on.
and nothing
I'm
but the truth, so help
cold.
God.
I do.
Thank you.
Look at him smiling at his
Mr.
friend.
Schultz, can you state your first and your last name and spell your last name for the record?
Andrew Schultz, SCHULTZ,
And Mr. Schultz, how old are you today?
27,
What city do you live in?
Milwaukee.
And how are you employed in general?
I work for Primoris Electric doing asphalt.
Thank you. Back in the time period of May of 2020, did you know a person named Zachariah Anderson?
I did.
That person here in the courtroom today?
He is.
For purposes of the record, could you point out that person, indicate what that person's wearing today?
Nice suit over there, the blue one with the tie. Yeah.
Just watch.
That's
He's
correct to
gonna
reflect identification of the defendant.
object to the
accused.
word nice.
Would you describe
Look at
the
him
defendant
smile.
as a friend of yours back in May of 2020?
Of course.
Had you, were you aware of what vehicles, if any, that the defendant owned and operated back in May of 2020?
I was.
What vehicles do you know that he owned or operated?
Let's see, it was probably 2010 Audi A4 and then a late 90s Dodge minivan.
Remember their colors?
Silver and black.
Okay. Which one was which, if you remember?
Black minivan, silver Audi.
Okay. And back in the time period of about May 17th through May 19th of 2020, which of those, if you know, was the defendant primarily driving?
Either or, usually. I really only saw him drive the minivan, though.
Okay. And who was the primary driver of the Audi during that period of time, if you know?
I'd still say he was the primary driver. If he let somebody else use it, that was his choice. So
Well, did you know that he was letting someone else use it during that time period?
I knew he had a.
Pause. Okay, so John Gary, how far ahead are you in this trial? I'm just curious. Part of me sometimes thinks that you tune in just to watch me react to what you already know is happening. Oh, and also I finally did get all the way back to Law Kong Express. Found out that's not really his actual name. His actual name is Joe. It's not Encyclopedia Crown or Law Kong Express. But I finally got all the way back to his episode 1. Boy, is that guy. He was describing how one of his relatives is an 80-year-old, walks with a cane, weighs, over 200 pounds. He also disclosed he weighs over 200 pounds and describes how this elderly relative of them, as he went over to go help them, do grocery shopping and had breakfast with them. I mean, this relative fell down, and he describes how it took, after some negotiation with the person that fell down. They kept saying their arm hurt, and he kept wanting to, anyway, you have to just listen to it. But he describes how it took 2 large paramedics and a little bit of the victims, or not the victims, the elderly person that fell's momentum to get the elderly person that fell upright. 2 over 6 foot tall, 200-ish pound people. So again, that kind of threw back in my mind. Sal, remember when Sal was in here the other day and he was talking about his 85-pound deceased German Shepherd and how he could hardly move the dog without help, the dead weight? I mean, that's a whole factor in this too. How did the body get out of there? There's no drag marks. There's no evidence. Actually, and then I started thinking how stupid I was about the whole open window thing, because clearly they didn't go out the open window. They didn't go in the open window. So I apologize for being ignorant. But there's out of the front door and out through the slider door. And then also the keys are missing. How did the front door get locked? Again, you just got to listen to his 4 episodes. This Way Up is here. Hello, it's Hat Day. Orange, you glad you joined us? And depending on your age, if you're younger, in the teenage years watching, for the younger ones, we've got another size. Orange, you glad you're here watching it? Nice to see you this way up. Okay. There's another tangent. I'm so sorry. I have things that I feel compelled to say.
A girlfriend that would drive it.
Okay, and was she the primary driver of it during that period of time, mid-May of 2020?
I still wouldn't call her primary, no.
When you were with the defendant during that period of May 1st through May 19th of 2020, what vehicle was he driving?
Either of them.
When you, during that period of time, May 1st through May 20, what vehicle was he primarily driving?
I'll say the minivan.
Okay. And did you know that the girlfriend was regularly driving the Audi?
I think she only used it once or twice, so I wouldn't say regularly.
You and I just talk about this case in my office with a witness present?
Yes.
Okay. Did you indicate to me during that period of time that you knew that the girlfriend, Christine...
Pause. Irish Latte Hannah. Hello and welcome. Happy Friday. So happy you joined us. Nancy RN. Orange, you glad you joined us too? Orange, you glad you're watching this? Sorry. Okay. Sorry. We must have a little humor.
Was primarily driving the Audi, and that it had been lent to her because she had crashed a vehicle?
Oh my
gosh. I believe I said that, but you only asked if she had driven it a couple times, so.
I did?
In the office, yeah.
Okay.
Pause. Brandon Lesko. All right, I pushed the give, send, go up to 43,000, 7,000 to go. Thank you, sir. For those of you watching on Rumble, although this doesn't happen very often, Rumble rants are available. However, for the duration of this trial, the very top of your screen, and also bullet point 3, I think in the description box, is this givesendgo.com/ZA Anderson. So I'm just asking for the duration of this trial. If you do feel compelled to, or, do a rumble rant, again, doesn't happen very often, but if you could please put it there and then just put something like Crime Spies. I don't know. Not even. Doesn't even matter. I don't even care about. Well, actually, no, I would, because I would like to recognize you for your in lieu of contribution. Many thank you. Okay, so. Okay, and Brandon also says, okay, I'm just gonna put it in the description box. If you donate, make sure to put one. Does it have to have the hyphen in it? Year? Oh, because it's his 1 year live stream. So Niklas has to take a drink. Noted. $250, Brandon. That's tremendous. God bless you, sir. Which is why I think I should actually watch the trial. Oh my goodness. Oh, Pixie's here. Good day, mate. Okay. Wow, Brandon. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I appreciate it. And I will amend as we are watching. Because I do talk too much.
Okay.
I
and
understand.
Did you tell me that you knew her to be the regular driver of that vehicle during this period of time?
If she only used it a couple times, I won't describe that as regular. But, I mean, it's less than a month, so I wouldn't consider that a primary driver of a vehicle.
You believe you told me just a few minutes ago that she only drove it a couple times? That's what you believe you told me just a few minutes ago?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Schultz, when back on the time period of May of 2020, around again, May 17th, 18th, and 19th, when is the last time that you believe you were at the defendant's home?
Let's see. Was it the 18th? Tuesday?
Tuesday would be the 19th?
Then, yes.
So you believe it was Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay. So Tuesday the 19th. About what time do you believe you saw him on Tuesday the 19th?
It would have been around 3:34 after I got out of work that day.
And how'd you get to his house, if you remember?
I drove.
Okay. When you got there, what was the defendant doing?
Just hanging out. I think he was burning some wood from a job he had done. So.
Okay. And where was he burning it?
Middle of his backyard, other side of the driveway.
Okay. Can we describe that as a fire pit? Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And what, if anything, did the defendant say to you about whether he had burning on prior days just before that Tuesday?
I think he said he was burning the day before.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the same fire pit?
Yeah.
And on the date of May 15th, so that would be Friday night, going into the 16th, which would be Saturday, where did you spend the night?
I slept upstairs in his kid's bedroom.
Okay. And on that date, how'd you get home if you did you leave his house on the 16th of May?
I did.
Okay. How'd you get home?
He gave me a ride.
And what vehicle did you drive in, if you remember?
The minivan.
And was the carpeting in the minivan intact?
I did not inspect the back of the vehicle, but from the front seat, it looked just fine.
Okay. When you were taken home by the defendant on Saturday, was it just you and he?
Yep.
And in general, what location, like what city were you going to?
Back to Milwaukee, where I lived at the time.
Okay. And was the defendant using your address as well?
I had said he could use my address to get mail sent there for probation purposes.
And was he actually living at your address?
He was not.
How many times have you driven the defendant's vehicles?
Never.
Does the defendant, where does the defendant keep his keys to his vehicles?
I would assume on his person or in his house.
During the time period just before he got arrested on the 19th of May, how often were you seeing him, like, per week?
Maybe once, maybe less than once on average.
And how did you happen to be associated with him?
I worked for his brother.
I have no further questions.
Good afternoon. The state had asked you about when you were at Mr. Anderson's house on May 19th at around 3 p.m., asked about a fire that you saw going. Do you know if Mr. Anderson would routinely have fires going on in that burn pit?
Usually, yeah.
How frequently?
I'd say out of all the times I was at his property, probably 3/4 of the time, there was either a bonfire or we were going to have one at some point.
And in your knowledge, if you know, you had mentioned, I guess, on direct that at that time you observed what appeared to be wood from a job site that he was burning. Was it oftentimes that he would burn things from job sites?
2x4s from like a tear out job, or he did chop down a lot of trees on his property, so there was always wood to burn. So.
And so it wasn't just he would use the burn pit, to your knowledge, as kind of a garbage disposal per se.
Yeah.
Objection, that's not a characterization. He said he used wood and logs. He didn't say anything about garbage disposal.
That's a leading question.
Judge, it's cross-examination.
Objection sustained. Oh, it is cross. Okay, then I got to think about it. Yes, you can cover it on redirect.
Okay.
You can answer the question.
What was the question?
If he would use a burn pit to get rid of trash.
Oh, yeah, it'd be easier just to burn wood than take it to a dump or put it in a dumpster and have it picked up. So. And
on May 19th, 2020, when this fire was going on, Mr. Anderson didn't tell you not to go by the fire. 19th,
nope.
20. You could have walked up to it if you wanted to.
I usually do and throw other shit in it for fun. Stuff. Stuff.
What's kind of stuff? And you can be honest here. What's kind of some stuff that you would throw into it for fun?
Just other 2x4s if I had stuff in my car from other jobs.
And when you were there on the 19th, was the dumpster full, to your knowledge, if you remember?
I don't recall that.
Okay. And when you were there, and you were, I'm assuming, hanging out with Mr. Anderson, during that time, were you able to observe what Mr. Anderson was wearing?
I mean, usually just a t-shirt and shorts.
You just can't remember back that far? That's fine. Understandable. But do you remember seeing him with any bloody clothes?
No.
When you were there on the 19th and the fire was going, besides the wood, did you see Mr. Anderson throwing out any what appeared to be suspicious items or anything else into the fire?
No, I did not.
And what time did you leave on May 19th, 2020?
I think I was only there for about an hour.
Okay. Do you remember law enforcement talking to you in this case?
After I had heard he got arrested, yeah, they came to they went to my parents' house looking for me, and then they came to my house in Milwaukee.
And do you remember them asking for your cell phone records?
Yes.
And you provided them your phone.
I didn't know how to pull up that stuff because I'm not great at it, but he figured it out, and it matched my hours book at the time for where I had gone. So.
And in that questioning, did you feel as if law enforcement was trying to involve you in the allegations?
A little bit. It looked like they were looking for trips to Kenosha, but other than that.
And do you remember law enforcement asking you about whether you knew anything about a missing person from Kenosha?
I think they mentioned it, yeah.
And you said you knew nothing.
Had no idea.
I have no further questions for this witness, subject to recross.
Didn't you say you'd heard about it? Not that you knew anything about it, but that you'd heard about it?
Yeah.
Okay. When we talk about this burn pit, you've mentioned wood was being thrown in there, right? Yes? You got to answer out loud.
Yes.
Okay. Including construction wood, right? Like, whatever the stuff you do for demo in wood, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever see anybody throwing bleach bottles into the fire?
No.
You wouldn't have done that.
No, that sounds kind of dangerous.
All right. What about items of clothing? Like, did you ever see anybody burning any underwear in there?
Nope.
How about jeans?
Nope.
How about boots? Have you ever seen anybody burn any boots in the fire pit?
I have not.
Nothing else.
You didn't just live at Mr. Anderson's house and sit in front of that burn pile to see every item that was ever thrown into it, correct?
I did not.
No further questions.
Nope, nothing.
You may step down, sir.
Okay, I'm in the process of... I wanted to throw something at that screen up there, but I didn't have anything...
Had a discussion off the record with defense counsel.
Okay, I'm going to shut this guy up before I have a meltdown, and then you see my dark side. Okay, so mention 1 year and during... I don't know how many characters can be up there. Maybe I'll try to incorporate... Okay, so I just posted. And now I'm gonna pin this. And hopefully, okay, so pinned at the top is the link to the Give, Send, Go for the Zachariah Anderson fundraiser. They're trying to get to $50,000 by the end of January. And Nick S., the Swedish guy with the long beard and the Mr. Jingles, we will conclude our live stream today in about 2 hours and 45 or no 1 hour 45 minutes so that we can all go over there. I can't transport, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And also Brandon had said if you mention 1 year during his live stream, Nick will have to take a drink. I did also want to just bring this up because, with the economy such as it is, I will save that for when I do Rumble live streams. I do know things are difficult. And if you notice on his Give, Send, Go page, there's a give, but there are non-monetary ways that you can also contribute to this movement, if you will. You can share the link to the Give, Send, Go. You can share the link and ask them to join us over on Nick's channel in a couple hours. You can also send prayers You know, that's non-monetary contribution. And, you know, I know for some people, they have the means to, you know, donate, and others do not, especially if you try to go to the grocery store and, you know, your one bag of groceries is $50 when it used to be $25. Okay, so there you have it. So any of these three means would be wonderful. And for those of you who cook, we were talking the other day about putting together some type of PDF cookbook and selling it on Etsy. There's no cost to that. Just, you know, the time to compile the recipes, perhaps with a short message about said recipe, and perhaps a short sentiment for the family of Zachariah Anderson. All right, there's my pitch. You know, I did at one time want to put professional pest on my LinkedIn page because, you know, in accounting, sometimes you have to pester people for payment if they're in arrears. All right, continue. I'm
That
going
they
to
wish
mute.
to at least make a challenge to some evidence that we think the court will have to listen to, at least briefly, because we're up to those witnesses. So I guess the good news is we're up to those detectives. But I fear that us starting and then the court hearing a very quick objection will not be helpful to the court. So we're prepared to call that witness, but I think it's probably going to be quicker if we have some sort of argument about admissibility first. I'm seeing a nod from defense attorney as well.
I take all that to mean you think it's best we discharge the jury for the day?
Well, were we going to discharge them at 2:30? Was that the court's plan?
I think that's smart.
I think there hasn't been a discussion in this case that hasn't taken 15 to 20 minutes, Judge. So I guide you with that information. In fact, when I said 15 to 20 minutes, the jury was highly skeptical about that figure, that number. So.
You know, in the Supreme Court, they've got a series of lights, and your time elapses when the light goes on. So, yeah.
I'm ready.
Well, there's no sense. Actually, the biggest impediment is that I'm awaiting word on how convey the news to you tomorrow about the weather. As I indicated, these people who panic at slightest snowfall, you don't look like people like that. So we're gonna tolerate some degree of snow unless the wind is really terrible and making it dangerous. But there is a point at which it does become impassable, so or very difficult or dangerous. So I think what I'm going to do is ask that you go to the jury room and wait word. The bailiffs will give you instructions as to what to do tomorrow, and or tonight, as whatever the instructions are. And in the meantime, please don't talk about the case. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. Any questions, anybody? I was delighted to hear that we're moving along fast. I hadn't noticed, but. So let's ask them. Yeah, ask them. Yeah. Wait upstairs, and then the bailiffs will discharge you. Any question? Enjoy the evening.
All right, here is where we pause and oops. Oh, he's on his cell phone. I wonder if he's tuning in on. I'm shivering. I gotta get the heater going here. What are we doing here? All right, so usually
I'll be in line to tell them what to do.
Oh, he's reading his text messages aloud. Huh. I wonder if he's finding any more oranges. I know this is a clementine. I'm just using it to symbolize the young people also tuning into this trial. I told Lily she better make this trending on Twitter or TikTok, because Mama's not going to download that app. What's this guy doing here? We're supposed to be seeing the defendant and reflecting on today is day 1320 that Zachariah Anderson has been incarcerated, which is about 3 years, 7.5 months. Oh, Jamie, were you here yesterday when we were talking about Beavis and Butthead? And I don't remember who is who. And you know that whole, I forget what the blonde one is. He kind of reminds me of Gravely. And you know how the blonde one pulls his shirt up. I am the great Cornholio. So here in Minnesota, there's a game called Cornhole, and it's like a beanbag game. You have like these wooden or plexiglass, you know, they look like little ramps with a hole in it, and you have beanbags, and you're on different teams, and you toss the beanbag and you try to get it in the hole, and the closer to the hole you are, so many points. Okay, so it's called cornhole. That's what I call it. That's what we call it. And my brother, up in his neighborhood, they have in the summertime lawnmower games, which, you know, like, well, they get on their riding lawnmowers, and there's like an obstacle course. So they have to go to, you know, like one table, and they have to like shoot an arrow into a target, and then they have to get back on their lawnmower, and they got to go to the next station and do something, and the next station and do something. Then they have to get to another section and like go reverse in a straight line, and I don't know. And then they end with like the last table they got, and it's timed on their lawnmower games. Well, they also have, for those who don't have lawnmowers, they have a cornhole tournament. And so my dad and his teammate won. So they won there's cash. And then he got the two, it was him and this other girl. They both got a shirt with whichever it is, Beavis Butthead, with the shirt, I am the great Cornholio, because they won the game of cornhole. And their cash. So there's my story. What's happening here?
Our next witness is Detective Howard. His one of the manual mistake, one of the things he did in this case.
So yes, again, that is Zachariah Anderson.
In the defendant's van, the receipt had been badly damaged in terms of, it looks like elements, if I had to put a spin on it. And so visible on the receipt was the date and the time. Visible on the receipt was the date and time of the transaction, as well as Walmart, or enough of Walmart at the top to know that it happened at a Walmart. Detective Howard then went to our local Walmart here with that receipt, the partial barcode, the numbers at the top of the barcode, and the limited information you could make out. Utilizing an employee at Walmart, they then located the purchase at that date, at that time, giving them the Saukville Walmart's location as where the purchases were made. He was then given it's called an items history, or it's essentially a reprinted receipt, where it gives you the itemized history as well as the same date and time as the one he had, which then led law enforcement to the Saukville Walmart, where they then got the surveillance video. So we are offering him as obviously the person that facilitated all of that to then bring in the fact that they got the itemized history receipt to then get them to Saukville. And my understanding was that the defense's objection was going to be that they thought we needed the Walmart employee here to talk about the process. which is why I wanted to not argue in front of the jury about it, but bring it up to the court ahead of time. Obviously, we do have the physical receipts. We do then have the Walmart video that shows that, yep, there's the defendant, at least for purposes of the detectives that have viewed it, that is the defendant then making these purchases at that time, at that Walmart, consistent with the receipt that's generated and then turned over to law enforcement. So I believe it's, if anything, it goes to the weight of the evidence should be given, not towards its admissibility. But I wanted to broach that subject with the court first, as opposed to in the middle of testimony having that be something in front of the jury.
Judge, the defense of the position is that if you're offering a recording or a writing, that it has to be authenticated with the proper foundation in order to be admitted as evidence. This is evidence that the state intends to use for the truth of the matter asserted, for Mr. Anderson was at this Walmart at this specific time, and this is exactly what he bought. Although Detective Howard might very well be the detective who went and spoke with the manager at the Walmart, Detective Howard was not at all involved in the process behind artificially recreating the Walmart receipt, and that was something that was done by, I believe, the manager at the Saukville Walmart. Detective Howard had no part in that. Detective Howard cannot explain how that's done, to what degree of reliability that is. That is not anything that Detective Howard can testify to. Additionally, as the state just noted, it's attempting to introduce the video to show Mr. Anderson their exact words was at that time. And the only way that they can establish at that time based on the video is the timestamps that are in that video. And again, that's not something that Detective Howard can testify to as far as whether the timestamp that one, were the cameras were in working order, two, were the timestamps accurate, and three, what was the process of getting that information and then reviewing it and ensuring that that was in fact accurate information. These are all basic foundation principles.
Well, I agree with the general objection. Who's sponsoring this?
Judge, Detective Howard was with the Walmart employee asking them to run this check.
Right.
He's present for it. He's present through the entire thing where they're trying the different things to find this transaction. They then locate this transaction. The Walmart video is separate because that's actually a different detective that does that, who can authenticate the video from the perspective of, I was at that Walmart, I was in the parking lot, I recognized that parking lot, I went inside, I also spoke to and requested surveillance video. It is time and date stamped, which corroborates exactly the receipt that we retrieved from the Walmart.
This is testimonial evidence. It's testimonial evidence. The defendant has the right to cross-examine the source of the evidence. And the source is not the officer who collects it. It's the person, in the case of the receipt, who recreates it, and the whomever reproduced the video.
You say reproduce, what do you mean? Because they look on their video system and they make a copy. They look on their video system and they simply make a copy. So what do you mean by reproduce?
Someone who's going to sponsor it being what it pertains to be.
So
what it purports to be.
Yeah. So the detective will say that he brought the receipt physically to a Walmart, and through looking at the Walmart receipt, he was then provided video that is matching that same time and date of the receipt.
And I suppose she made some reference to this. You might want some evidence to show that the times are actual and not.
Well, that goes to weight. That goes to weight. We have the defendant's phone also present in that parking lot at the same period of time. That's the stipulated evidence. We have his phone at that location.
Why are these witnesses not available?
Well, they are witnesses
Pause. I just remembered I had meant to mention this earlier. On the top of the YouTube chat window, if you could switch it from top chat to live chat, I don't know if that's the way it's always been, but then that way you get everybody's comments in here. I can't see. My screen is split. What does this say? Brandon is working his magic on your channel. What are you doing? Oh. Okay, so Brandon, if you're new to Crime Spies, I'm not used to all of this attention. Normally I get 2 likes, well, 3. One is Crime Spies, one is my alter ego, second Google account. And if I get a third one, usually it's my daughter. So if there's more than 3, I'll be really excited. Okay, here we go. I'm trying to be quiet because we don't have a whole lot of time. Oh, and also I wanted to mention Christine keeps mentioning she needs help on an interview with Soloman. If we could please table that, especially today, only because we have such a short period of time before we all go over to the live stream. But Christine, I think if you let us know specifically what you need help with, like for example, you mentioned you use StreamYard, and if you need help, like setting up the live stream, with setting it up, because I mean you can either record, or you can set it up, or if you need that and help with how to share the link to for Soloman to come into your StreamYard, and then how to add him to your screen once you're live. Those are all things that we can help you with, but I would think that his family's probably really busy. It's the end of the year. We've got this fundraiser thing coming up, and all of us in our daily family things are kind of it's end of the year, etc. So I think if you talk to him and solidify some kind of date, maybe like mid-January, and then let some of us here know what you need specific help with, we will be happy to help you, because this is like a family. So anyway, all right, let's continue. We only have an hour and a half left. Let's focus. I'm even going to mute myself so I stop interrupting.
We did not subpoena, so they're not on our witness list, because we believed that officers are able to recreate this, as I've done many times over my career. So I apologize if the court feels that that's not appropriate. This is no different than the doorbell videos we get in different cases, right? We don't bring a person to say, that time on my doorbell video is correct. We simply have other circumstances where we match that typically. So if the court says, yes, you need that evidence, then we're going to ask the court's permission to subpoena those 2 additional witnesses, foundational witnesses. So our secondary request.
I think you need it.
Okay.
And you don't need my permission to subpoena them.
Well,
add them to the witness list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's
okay.
a problem.
So we'll do that. So thank you for giving us an afternoon where we have time to scramble and get them. Yeah.
All right.
All right. We understand the court's guide.
All right. Is there anything else?
No.
Right.
No.
Tentatively 9 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you some slack with these if there's weather that's such that it's going to slow you down. But if we're still going.
Okay, now as we're switching days, let's just pause for a moment. I got to remind myself also, if the judge is going on one of his weird tangents, I might monkey with the time. Normally, I always watch it in at least 1.25 times speed when I do trials on Rumble and Kick, but there's just so much going on here. It seems like 1.0 times speed is good. Also, Brandon Lesko, just briefly going back, I know Kristine wants to interview Soloman, and he had made a comment about Soloman was around yesterday, question mark. Yeah, he was. He was here all the way until the end when I got the spins again. I would assume he will show up to Nick's today, but I agree on not bothering him. Holiday season must be tough for them. And plus, on top of it, they've got a new baby. So the fact that he even comes and says hello, I've noticed he's commented on different things that I've. Oh wait, I gotta like my own. Here, see, I even forgot to. Usually, I have to thumbs up it myself, so I at least get the one. Just kidding. I already mentioned that. But yeah, so I just think it's just respectful. To let their family get through the holidays, get through the new year with their new baby, and they've got this wonderful fundraiser going on tonight. They're trying to, well, frankly, to be honest with you, I would probably even wait until February, just simply because they are really trying to blitz fundraise from now until the end of January. He needs his appeal. So I don't know. I shouldn't offer suggestions. It's probably not my place. All right. I just wanted to go underneath here, and Vilhammer Media, again, thank you so much for remastering the audio on this. It looks like this is Sadie Day. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. I should have gotten up early and like done this with curlers in my hair and a mud mask on my face. Oh man. Well, I guess we'll get as much in as we can. Oh. Pardon me one moment. I want to grab this transcript.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back, and
this will just take me a moment. You'll be able to hear.
I apologize for the late start.
You'll be able to hear it.
On Friday, I had made pre-arrangements with the court staff to set in motion the cancellation, and then I awakened at just before 6 and watched a little bit of the weather on television, which of course comes from Milwaukee, and I had heard before I had gone to bed on Thursday, I heard the snow plow come by 4 times, and so I went to bed thinking we're going to have quite a white blanket. But I never got out of bed on Friday morning until later, but I had made pre-arrangements to talk to some of the court staff and get an idea of what the situation was. When I got up, probably about 7 or so, there was not a single flake of snow anywhere near my property, and I hope you actually had the same good fortune, but I guess some of the people had 8 inches, and a lot of people lost power. Okay, well, you're making me feel good. But anyway, welcome back, and I hope you were able to enjoy the weekend, and let's not spend any more time on.
It depends on what kind of snow they had. Oh, okay, well, pause. No, not pause. Normal. All right.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this matter will be the truth?
I'm just going to rewind because I want to see if she looks... If she looks at... Oh, she doesn't even walk by the table. She goes around. Is that normal? Is that what they do?
Hand, please. Do you solemnly swear?
I'm going to mute
testimony you are about to give
and
this
not
matter
distract.
Will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So
unplug if necessary.
Could you please state your name for the record and spell it?
Sadie Beecham, Sadiebeacham.
Satan's. Spawn,
And Tiffany, are you currently employed? And how are you employed?
SPAWN.
Work for community care.
And in general, what city do you currently live in?
I live in Colgate.
And do you know somebody by the name of Zachariah Anderson?
Yes.
And do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And can you point out where he's seated, what he's wearing?
Today he's wearing a gray suit, blue tie.
Judge, I would just ask the record reflect the accused.
Indicating the accused.
And how do you know Mr. Anderson?
We had a relationship and we have children together.
When did you first meet the defendant?
I first met him in about 2007.
And you indicated you have children together. How many?
We have 3.
And what year was your daughter born?
Our daughter was born in 2008.
And back in 2008, were you residing with the defendant?
Yes.
And at some point, did you stop residing with the defendant during your relationship?
Yes.
When is the last time by year that you actually lived with the defendant?
2012 is when he moved out.
So since 2012, you've maintained separate residences?
Yes.
Did you continue to be in a romantic relationship, though?
Yes, it was on and off for the next few years. Yes.
And ultimately, what year were your twin boys born?
2015.
Oh my God, I thought... I don't know what I just pushed. Just one moment.
I hate her face.
Is that what you're looking for, people? It's probably too loud, I'm sorry. Okay. I have to go find a heater. I'm freezing my fanny off.
And who did the children live with primarily throughout the years from 2012 until 2020?
With me.
And where was the defendant living during those years, the best you can recall?
All over the place.
What do you mean by all over the place?
Well, he had a home that was in Mequon, but his job took him all over the, all over. So he was sometimes in different areas or different states.
And when he would be back in this area, would he continue to reside at that Mequon residence?
Yes.
And then how would he see you and the kids when he was back in this area?
He would like come in town for the weekends, or he'd come over on the weekend when he wasn't working. And
Hi,
that's
Beelhammer.
kind of what he would do is he'd stay overnight at my house with the kids and with us, and then yeah.
And up until 2020, did he really ever take the kids overnight away from your home?
No, the kids mostly stayed overnight at my house. When he first moved into the house, there were a couple of times where we all stayed there together, but primarily the children were at my house. They had their rooms all set up at my house.
And fast forwarding to 2019, what was the status of your relationship with the defendant romantically during 2019?
It was very tumultuous in 2019. It was not, we weren't doing well. It was, it was a relationship on its way out.
And ultimately, did that relationship end for good at some point in 2019?
Yes, December of 2019.
Now, prior to that, in your on and off relationship with the defendant from 2008 to 2019, had you been actively seeking out other relationships during that 11-year period?
No.
To your knowledge, had the defendant been actively seeking out other relationships during that period?
Yes.
Now, what happened in December of 2019 that made this relationship end for good?
I'm going to object that this question is calling for other acts evidence.
It doesn't, well, I'm going to just wonder what the relevance is.
Well, Judge, one of the many, I think, potential defenses here is that she was stringing him along, so I'm trying to lay the foundation for when their relationship officially ended, so then we can get into when she officially moved on. I don't need the details of...
The question is much broader than that. It asks for a universe of possibilities. And the other thing is, except in those cases where the one of the parties says to the other, get lost, I don't know when a relationship, quote, officially ends.
Right, which she would explain for us yet, but I will specify better.
All right.
Ultimately, in December of 2019, was there an argument that ended the relationship in your mind?
Yes.
And then from December of 2019 through January of 2020, did you have really any contact with the defendant at all?
No.
And does that include him not seeing the kids?
Correct.
When was then the first time you recall having contact with the defendant after not speaking with him at all in January of 2020?
Sometime in February of 2020.
And what was the nature of that conversation in February of 2020?
I'm going to object as far as relevance. It's also outside charging scope.
What about the relevance?
Well, Judge, state of mind of all of the parties in terms of motive, jealousy, all of these things about what she understood the relationship to be versus what she had communicated to him, because it then results in what we have accused as of stalking type behavior. So I do believe it's highly relevant and probative in terms of what the relationship was through all the stages up till when we charged the first instance of stalking.
But you qualify your question between what, I'm paraphrasing, but what she thought the relationship was, and then you inquire what she communicated to him, so that answering the first part of the question becomes speculation on his part as to what she's thinking. Am I confused in this more?
Yeah.
Okay. What she was thinking, you see the state of mind of all the parties. Well, there are only two parties, the state and the accused. She is a complaining witness, and if he's going to be accountable for behavior in which he should know her thinking, then it needs to have been communicated to him.
Correct, which is why I'm asking about a meeting they had in February of 2020 regarding the status of their relationship moving forward.
I didn't say that was a problem.
Okay.
Why don't you rephrase your question?
Sure. After communication had been reopened between you and the defendant, did you meet up with him in February of 2020?
Yes, I did.
And what was the nature of the discussion you had with him regarding how you were going to be moving forward together?
So he reached out to me, and I agreed to have a conversation with him, but only outside in my driveway. And so we had a conversation, and in that conversation, I expressed to him that I was done with the relationship, and that I did not see it being repairable at that point, based off of what had happened. So I kind of made it clear, and wanted to kind of figure out, what an agreeable, something agreeable for the kids, like to see the kids, because that's ultimately what he wanted. So I was thinking that was fine to come up with something to do with the kids, but I was done with the relationship. So
And did you take any affirmative steps to move on or potentially look for a new relationship moving forward?
I did. I kind of just dabbled on Facebook dating.
And did you meet someone named Rosalio Gutierrez Jr. on Facebook dating?
I did.
And approximately when in February of 2020 do you recall connecting with him over that app?
February 13th.
And did you then start exchanging messages with Mr. Gutierrez?
Yes. We started chatting on Facebook, dating app for a little bit, and then we exchanged messengers and started to chat that way.
Since your relationship with the defendant, since I think you said 2007, was this the first new relationship you had ever really attempted at that point?
Yeah, yes.
Now, at some point, did you and Mr. Gutierrez agree to meet up at his residence on February 29th?
I don't object. There's been a long string of leading questions at this point.
Well, it is, in form is leading, but it's, I don't think it reaches the level of suggestiveness as to be objectionable, so it's overruled.
You can answer.
That's fine. Can you repeat it again?
Sure. Did you and Mr. Gutierrez arrange to meet up at his house for the first time on February 29th of 2020?
Yes.
Showing states that a 212. Ms. Beecham, would it be accurate based on the to and from? You would be then in pink, and Mr. Gutierrez would be in this yellow?
Yes.
Okay. So he says to you, so don't judge my spot, I haven't cleaned, LOL. You then say back, not at all, LOL. And then you ask, we're just staying at your place, right? Like I can wear comfy clothes, or are we going somewhere? And he responds, be comfy, babe, maybe somewhere to eat, but just chill night. You then say, okay, sweet, I'm leaving soon. And he then texts you 3709 15th Street, apartment 1B, in Kenosha.
Yes.
And then he asks you how far a drive is that for you? Is that accurate?
Correct.
Now, up until this point, had you been to his residence, best you can recall?
No.
So then you indicate, forgot my phone, leaving again 50 minutes. And he says, LOL, okay. He asks you about a beverage preference. And then moving down here, he ultimately says to you on 2/29 at 6:26 p.m., shared my location because GPS doesn't always send to the right place. Do you recall that conversation?
Yes.
And when you met up with him on February 29th, do you recall having any problems getting to his residence?
Yes.
And what was that problem? Best you can recall.
I went to the wrong building. I went around the GPS took me around to the side of the building. So then when I got there, I called him, and he said he directed me back around where I was supposed to be.
Now, right around that same time frame, did you have some sort of vacation planned with friends?
Yes.
And where were you and your friends?
I'm going to object to this line of questioning the trip that she's about to talk to. The states, this is all hearsay evidence that what's going to come out. She was in Mexico. She did not observe anything that was here, that was going on here.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding. You're objecting
That this line of questioning is calling for hearsay evidence that they're going to try to get into a situation that occurred here in the state of Wisconsin when Ms. Beecham was away in Mexico. She has no personal knowledge of those other than what was told to her by another individual.
So there's conversation she has with the defendant surrounding this incident. The other individual, Ms. Jekyll, will be present in court and will testify regarding what she witnessed at that same time. But this is giving the context of the state of mind of the defendant when she goes on vacation, and then their communications both via the phone as well as via text message afterwards.
The testimony of the accused, of course, is non-hearsay.
Sure.
Not testimony. The statements attributed to the accused are non-hearsay. The statements, which, if there are any that are attributed to someone who, how did this other person become aware of the content of the discussion?
So the other person was at Ms. Beecham's home when the defendant came in and caused the scene. So she was the first-hand witness to it, and then Ms. Beecham, in response, had to have contact with both the defendant and Ms. Jekyll.
So
you're going to have to make particularized objections to what you claim to be hearsay.
Sure, and it's just, I'll do it as the question goes on, but it is to Rebecca Jekyll. It's not obviously to the defendant.
Okay, go ahead.
So when was this vacation supposed to take place?
First week of March.
And previously, when you talked about having a conversation with the defendant in February regarding the kids, did you mention this vacation to him in any way?
No,
And why not?
because it was none of his business. He didn't need to know. We weren't together, so there was no reason for him to know what I was doing. And he was going to be out of town as well. So, and I had the kids. I had everything planned for the kids and child care all set up. So there wasn't really any reason for him to know.
And at what point during this trip did you become aware that something was wrong back home?
I got a call in the middle of the night from a friend of mine stating that Zachariah had entered the home and
Okay, I'm going to object and ask that be struck.
Sounds.
So, Judge, it's not for the truth of the matter asserted. It is literally to get us to the next place. And as stated, it's the conversations that then are subsequent to this, which are the same day, essentially, that this has occurred. But then also Ms. Jekyll will testify about this, so she will be able to be crossed regarding what she told Ms. Beecham. So it won't just be her understanding of what Ms. Jekyll said.
The definition of hearsay is a statement by a person while the person is not on the witness stand under oath or subject to cross-examination, which is offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, which would be the content of what the person told the witness during this phone call. So it sounds kind of hearsay-ish. And as I've discussed previously, I'm not a believer in that Trojan horse that it's being offered to explain why a witness did the next thing or whatever, but that's just in that event it's irrelevant. So the content of the phone call sounds to me as hearsay. It might not be. Yeah, well, the caller, if the caller has personal knowledge, then if the caller is here and subject to cross-examination and under oath, you can admit the evidence that way. But on the other hand, on this nocturnal phone call, I would be going in blind now if I overruled the objection to whatever the sources of knowledge the caller had, which may themselves have been hearsay. So,
the caller's an eyewitness. The person
say the witness. I don't know what the witness is going to say when she's called. All I know is that someone calls in the middle of the night and gives some information And I suppose if she had started, no, I'm not going to get into that, but the objection is sustained.
To your knowledge, where was the defendant supposed to be out of town while you were in Mexico?
I understood that he was going to be in South Dakota.
And which of your friends did you set up childcare with to watch the kids while you were in Mexico?
My friend Rebecca.
And ultimately, did a situation arise at some point that caused concern where you were contacted about the defendant arriving at your residence?
Yes.
What time of day do you recall receiving that call without telling me what the call was about?
About 3 a.m.
Would that be 3 a.m. when you were in Mexico, or is that that time here?
I'm not exactly sure on the time, but it was about 2, 3, anywhere before between 2 and 3 a.m. In Mexico. It woke me up.
And at that point, the defendant was at your residence?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Ultimately, did you speak to the defendant about this?
Yes. I called him when I was informed that he was in the home. I called him and he did not answer. And so then I contacted law enforcement.
At any time previous to you leaving for vacation, had you invited the defendant to come over to your home?
No.
And best you can recall, what were the days of your trip to Mexico back in 2020?
I believe it was like March 3rd through the 10th or something like that.
Ultimately, were you able to get text communication through to the defendant on March 6th of 2020?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 199. And ask if this is the phone number for the defendant that was recognized was Agent Phone Zachariah.
Yeah.
So looking at that first message, this at 5:36 p.m. on the 6th of March, if he sent you a text that says, "Go do your vacation proper. It's Friday. Probably going to be almost as memorable as Saturday. Travel safe. No coronavirus or herpes if you can help it. Never know what kind of bug you might catch on vacation. Sometimes what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas. I don't want the kids to get pink eye, or is the coronavirus deadly?" Is that a text message he sent to you?
Yes.
Then moving down a little bit, you get a text from him that says, "Since your new somebody is looking to see you soon as possible, what if I keep the kids Tuesday night as well? Don't want you to have to sneak anyone into the house after sending the kids to bed. Don't want the kids coming downstairs to pee and overhearing any sweet talking. Might mess with them hearing you and the new boo calling each other babe and whatever." And then you respond to that with, "Honestly, babe, first I think it's fucked up that someone is keeping you updated as they somehow think if I were to start dating again, that it's a bad thing. Second, why do you care to continue getting updates from said informants? LOL. And third, I don't need your help to find happiness. You had your chance. Many, 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 many." Was that your response to him?
Yes.
And then he responds, "I just offered to watch the kids. Don't get mad because people want to give me reliable information when you don't. It just happens to be about the guy you dumped me for, I suppose. There is some curiosity for sure." And then his next message, talking about my last 3 years at AT&T was a downhill slide. I wish I would have made you and the kids come with. 2.5 years after that has been mostly sleep-deprived, physical anguish, and crying all alone, dreaming of suicide. Not sure what popped in my back, but every day I can breathe again, and I want to rest. I want the rest of my days to have love and happiness. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Did you know him to have back pain at some point during your relationship?
Yes.
And during this time frame, had that gotten better?
Yes, he told me it did.
We have another text from later on that same day. The boys said some guy came over to hang the TV. I asked Liv if it was Leo. She said she asked Becky, and Becky couldn't help smiling. I wish she paid as close attention. You respond with, the boys were all over Tony when he was hanging the TV, and you should probably stop probing our 11-year-old for information. He's cut it out. I'll fucking tell you if I'm into someone, good God. And, oh, you were expecting indiscretion around my babies, our more than impressionable daughter. Fuck no. I want her to know how a man is supposed to treat her, not control her and make her fear him. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then he responds back later on that evening, I won't stalk you. You have told me more than you needed, just putting some thoughts and feelings down. Your goodbye was very abrupt, still sorting myself out. Figured you could just ignore it or laugh at me. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Up until that point, had you told the defendant anything about your new Facebook dating relationship with Mr. Gutierrez?
No.
So you never told him anything about calling Mr. Gutierrez Leo?
No.
And just to be clear, Mr. Gutierrez was not on this Mexican vacation with you?
No.
So based on your conversation in February of 2020 with the defendant, did you believe you owed him any explanations about your personal life?
No.
And why did you believe that?
Because we were not together. We were not in a relationship. He was not allowed in my house. I was afraid of him, and we were not together.
Now, ultimately, when you get back from vacation in Mexico, do you continue seeing Mr. Gutierrez Jr.?
Yes.
And would you describe your relationship as progressing towards something?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 213. I believe you stated you got back from Mexico, you believe the 10th?
Yes.
So were these some text messages between you and, well, starting with, from Rosalio from the 10th of March after you had gotten back from Mexico?
Yes.
And did they include phrases such as, have I told you that when I kissed you, that I knew you were the one for me? And have I told you that I prayed for someone like you to come into my life? Leo then says, I feel like he answered my prayers. Babe, I honestly feel like we have happily ever after potential. Those all accurate?
Yes.
And then ultimately on that same day, later that night, you respond with, you did tell me and I like that.
Yes.
And then he says, love, confession time, I'm head over heels for you. Like I totally know you are for me. Like no questions asked, you are for me. And you respond back with, I feel some fantastic things are going to happen with us, and then a heart emoji.
Yeah.
Now, up until this point of your relationship, have you really told anyone in your life kind of what's going on with you and this new guy, Rosalio Gutierrez?
The only one I told was, well, my close friends. So my best friend, Rebecca, other friends that were close to me.
And would that be the same Rebecca, Becky, that was watching the kids during your vacation?
Yes.
Did you tell anything to your, at that point, 11-year-old daughter regarding this new relationship you were starting?
No, I didn't disclose it.
And why is that?
Because it was a new relationship and that was kind of new territory for me. So I didn't really want to talk to her about that yet. I didn't feel it was appropriate.
Is your daughter kind of inquisitive?
She is. She's very curious. She was into phones at that time, so also it was a matter of just her not going into phones and things like that. So I knew she was gonna try to find things out if she knew somebody's name or if she knew something. So I just kind of kept those things to myself right at the moment.
At some point in March, does your daughter learn the name Leo?
She did.
And how did that happen?
So I picked her up from school, and we were in the car, and on the Bluetooth, the name popped up. So, and it was Leo on the screen. And so then she had asked who Leo was, and I said, oh, it's, a friend of mine. And, she said hi, he said hi or whatnot. And then we just kind of ended the phone call. And I just, explained to her that it was a new friend of mine.
Now, obviously, there was an incident that happened with the defendant being at your house while you were in Mexico. When you got back from Mexico...
I don't object. That question is argumentative.
The formation of the question.
I can rephrase it.
That
After you found out the defendant had been at your home in the early morning hours while you were in Mexico, after you returned, did you set up another meeting with him?
Judge, same objection.
The problem is the formation of the question imports.
I'll rephrase again.
Thank you.
After getting back from Mexico, did you set up another meeting with the defendant at the chocolate factory?
Yes.
And what is the chocolate factory for those of us that aren't from your area?
It's just a sub shop, like a sub sandwich shop.
And what was the purpose of this meeting at the chocolate factory with the defendant?
At this time, I had papers for working out a schedule for the kids. So I wanted to discuss like an amicable schedule and agreement so that he could see the kids and that it wouldn't be while I was at home and like it was before. So I just wanted to sit down and come to some kind of an agreement that maybe we could agree on to take to like the courts and just, show them that we agreed on the schedule. And so that was my intention of that meeting.
And you indicated that was your intention. What do you mean by that?
My intention was to meet to discuss the children schedule for the kids and something that we could agree upon.
And did the defendant have that same goal in mind, or was he also trying to do other things during that meeting?
I object as far as speculation.
Well, based on his answers and responses, I think.
Well, for starters, it's a leading question.
What did the defendant say during this meeting that was perhaps different than what your intention was in having the meeting?
He wanted to talk about how he wanted to get back together. So it was, he didn't want to discuss that. He wanted to talk about why we weren't going to get back together, why I couldn't, he just tried to get back together with me. It was more about that.
And what was your answer to him about wanting to get back together?
I again just kind of iterated that the relationship was over and that it just was past its point. So it was more about the kids at this point. I just wanted to come up with something agreeable for the kids.
Hi, Baker.
And after this meeting,
Welcome back.
did the defendant finally give up trying to get back together with you?
I don't object. Speculation.
Sustained.
What, if anything, did the defendant do after this meeting towards you that made you believe potentially he wasn't ready to give up on the relationship yet?
He would constantly text me, call me, send me, emails, these kind of woe is me emails, and just trying every
Objection
direction
calls
try to
for
get back,
speculation.
with
Mischaracterization.
me, or just try to
Facts not in evidence.
like almost in a harassing way, like just constantly emailing me all hours of the night, texting all hours, bringing me flowers, just
And during this time frame, roughly March 16th of 2020, do you recall finding out that your daughter had gone through your phone?
yes.
And did you, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 214. These couple of texts between you and Rosaleo, regarding the fact that you had found that out. 3:16 at 4:27 p.m. Liv got in my phone, LOL, and then he reacted with the laughed at and just saw this text. What did he say? Is that accurate?
Yes.
And how did you know that your daughter had gotten your cell phone?
Because she confronted me about it.
So had she read some of the messages between you and Leo at that point?
She said that she saw a message from Leo to me.
Now, as March progressed, was the contact with the defendant the same that you previously talked about him trying to get back together with you and things like that?
Yes.
I'll show you States 200. Text messages from March 19th at roughly 11:32 in the morning. From the defendant to you. Well, you getting your hair pulled by your new boo tonight, again tomorrow. I am not sure what time I will be home later, and if I have the kids tomorrow. And you respond with WTF, either help or don't. Is that accurate?
Yes.
What was this conversation about? If you could.
I'm not sure. Maybe I asked him to help with the kids or something.
And then later on, at 11:41 that day, he says, damn, put the gun down. I got the kids tomorrow and next week. And then he says, I'm saying maybe I get them in the mornings. You got it, someone. We can be pals all you want, but I'm dying inside and don't want to be left out in the cold. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then further down, a little bit further down that day, he indicates to you that he loves you. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then there's a text at 7:45 the next day. Since you are going to be checking your messages later, and I don't want you to have messages from all your new dudes and not me. And he sent you that message. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then moving on to March 21st of 2020, message him at 5:20 p.m. You and Leo got date night tonight. What's the plan? Is that a message that you received from him?
Yes.
This powerful $99 drone is now available in the U.S. This is an extremely high-tech $5,000 drone. It was developed.
No.
So when he
I'm sorry, I'll
knows the name
rewind.
Leo, and moving on to, at that point, personally told the defendant who Rosaleo Gutierrez Jr. was.
No.
So when he knows the name Leo, That's not something you ever shared with him?
No.
Pause one moment. For those of you on Rumble, I'm typing a message in your chat. I apologize for the audio overlay. I can't mute until after a commercial because I am monetized over there. So I'm sorry about that. But Nick, it's my understanding, has an account on Rumble. So this is more of a question, I guess. If anybody knows if he is planning on live streaming both on YouTube and Rumble, so I can send the Rumble people over to the Rumble live stream. If not, the YouTube live stream. That was both a statement and a question.
Now, subsequent to some of those text messages you just saw from the defendant, does he continue to do things to try to get back together with you after that?
I don't object as far as speculation.
She can testify as to what her perception of events was, but the jury keep in mind that she's incorporating her perception, her conclusions, and it's not, she has no way of knowing, obviously, what's in his mind. Go ahead.
Based on your perception of the defendant's words and actions subsequent to some of the texts we've seen from the middle of March, does he continue to try to get back together with you in the following weeks?
Yes.
And does he do that in the same ways you previously described regarding phone calls, text messages, gifts?
Yes.
Does he continue to tell you that he loves you?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 202. Text messages from March 29th of 2020. At 10:07 p.m., does he send you a text? I don't have any fight for you. I don't have any arguments. I have some questions, some feelings. Good night, Sadie Bear. I love you. Send that to you?
Yes.
Then good morning. Have whatever kind of day you want. I love you.
Yes.
Then does he call you? It appears 3 times between noon and 4:30 p.m. that on the 30th.
Yes.
And then on the night of the 31st, does he send you a text? And I love you.
Yes.
And to any of these texts, do you respond in kind?
No.
So moving into April of 2020, have you still, I'm sorry, strike that. Moving into April of 2020, have you chosen to share any information about your new relationship with the defendant?
No.
In conversations with you, does he have information about Mr. Gutierrez that you did not share with him?
Yes.
And what kind of information does he share with you in the early parts of April of 2020 that you did not share with him that he somehow knows about Mr. Gutierrez?
His name. And also he mentioned where he lived.
And during the early parts of April of 2020, based on efforts and deeds by the defendant, is it your perception that he's still trying to get back together with you?
Yes.
And would it be in all the same ways that you've previously testified, gifts, phone calls, text messages?
Yes. He would use, and sometimes he'd use 2 different phones to text me on, so it would get kind of confusing. So it would either be like texts, emails, texts on 2 different phones, just a lot of harassing, trying to get back together. Why can't we? Just not letting it go.
We have these alleged text messages, ?
And were you aware that during some of these phone calls between you and him that he was recording you?
No, I did not know at that time.
I'm going to play for you a video recording regarding a telephone call from April 8th of 2020. Exhibit 255.
Sorry, if you don't mind just pausing, can you just let us know the timestamp of where you started playing it from?
Yes. Give me a second. (9:04).
No, it's not any fucking excuse. It's silent, but you're not giving me this thing. I just want to keep confronting me about something that isn't fucking there. I'm not asking for it. Well, I don't know what you're asking for. Fuck over here. Leaving you your space. I send you a text message, I get a cold fuck off every night. No, you don't. Yeah. I say good night to you just the same as you say to me. It's not good enough. Fine, it's not good enough. Is it ever going to be? No, you don't say I love you. You don't say the same as I say to you. And that's okay. That's okay, because I earned it. I know I did. I'm not trying to not say I love you to you. I'm trying to play every card I can to say that there's a future. Every time something happens and I'm like, fuck, dude, you're killing me. You answer it? You see? You see how you're pushing me away? Dude, I'm fucking dying over this. I'm asking for your time and attention. I'm asking that we come together as a couple and raise our fucking kids. I don't know that we can right now. I don't know in that space right now. I'm telling you that. It's not any different right now. Not a day or two make a change. I don't see it making a change in a day or two. It's just that I just feel it. It's not a day, it's a month now. Don't get a lot of you. It's not a month now. But 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks. It's telling me I love you every day. When you call, it's trying to get. I understand. I understand. I get it, and I'm not appreciating it. I see it. I understand. It's not that. It doesn't just flip the switch. I'm not asking for a flip the switch. I'm asking for some reciprocity. Not the end of it.
Stopping at 10:57. So in that conversation, do you recognize the 2 voices that you heard?
Yes.
And who are those 2 voices?
That's Zachariah and myself.
And did you know that that was being recorded? And
No.
did you know that that was being recorded? And
No.
did you know that that was being recorded? And when you indicate that you perceived he was trying to get back together with you. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And did you have any interest in getting back together with him?
No.
And how would you explain that to him when he would bring this up time and time again?
I would just try to explain to him that, that I still, cared about him, as the father of my kids, and that I wanted things to be, as civil and amicable as possible, but that we just couldn't be in a relationship. It was just too toxic. It was too. I just kept reiterating that to him, that, I didn't want it to be ugly. I just wanted it to be done.
Now, in this time frame, are you still seeing, this would have been April 8th of 2020, are you still seeing Mr. Gutierrez?
Yes.
And is that relationship progressing towards something, in your opinion?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as dates 2/15. Text messages from April 17th of 2020 between you and Mr. Gutierrez.
Sorry, Counsel, the date was?
April 17th, 2020. This text read from, he's now on your phone as Junior, is that accurate?
Yes.
And why is he now on your phone as Junior when before it was Leo?
Because he started harassing me about Leo, and my daughter knew that.
I'm sorry, when you say he started harassing me, who do you mean?
Zach started harassing me using Leo, and I kind of started having a feeling that my daughter was giving him information from my phone, and she knew that his name was in my phone as Leo, so I changed it so that she wouldn't be able to find it as easy and report back.
So April 17th, he says, "Babe, I miss you," and you respond back, "I miss you too. I think I'm kind of falling for you, Rosalio," and then he loves that message. Is that all accurate?
Yes.
And at this point of April of 2020, how often are you able to go see Mr. Gutierrez?
We tried to see each other like every other weekend or a couple times a week.
And have you involved your kids in any of those meetings in any way?
No.
So when you go see Mr. Gutierrez, who would potentially be watching your children?
So at this point, we had, Zach was very adamant about seeing the kids and having them stay at his house now. So I allowed kind of to let him do that, and we didn't have a schedule. So it was too hard to kind of nail him down with a schedule because he would just want them whenever. So I kind of worked with that. So it was whenever he wanted the kids for a couple of days, and then he would usually have them, and then I would go and hang out with Rosalio.
During April of 2020, would the defendant make comments to you about you not being home at night?
So there were a few times where I would stay over at Rosalio's, and then I would get like text messages from Zach saying, "Oh, I see your car's in the driveway," or "You didn't come home last night," or things like that.
Approaching with what's been marked as State's Exhibit 203.
Again, do we have records of these
text messages between you and the defendant
text messages?
from April 21st. I see the first one we're talking about, April 21st at 9:58 p.m. Appears to be a series of dots from the defendant. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then you respond back about an hour and 15 minutes later with a series of dots?
Yes.
Is there a reason? Is there some meaning to the dots, or is that just how he texted you that day?
I just responded to what he texted.
Now, looking down, now we're a couple of hours later.
Is
now
it Morse code?
1:43 in the morning. A text from him that says, "I am sure he is a great guy." Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then roughly 6.5 hours later at 8:15, he tells.
Sorry, I do have to chime in with this. My teeth have stopped chattering. Okay, so she just had mentioned some things that he was text messaging her about. Oh, I noticed your car wasn't in the driveway last night. Okay, so I'm assuming there are text messages because they're reading other text messages now that corroborate. I'm not saying I don't believe that she perhaps had gotten them, but I mean, you can't just selectively enter text messages into the record. It seems to me like she's testifying on text messages, some text messages, and then other ones they've got popped up on the screen, if that makes any sense.
Tells you, "We stopped by to grab warmer clothes for heading to the lake house. Looks like you didn't make it home, ... again." And you responded back, "I'm about to be in a conference call in a minute. In short, I'm tired of all your accusations about where I am. You're really overly paranoid." And then you tell him, "I'm just at Becky's, you fool, enough." And then he says, "It wasn't an accusation, it was an observation." Is that accurate?
Yes.
Now,
Pause. The messages are shown when they are put into the Elmo, when they are questioning the guy who did the Sella. Okay, so the text messages about, "I saw your car wasn't in the driveway," those messages are also going to be included. So I will wait. Thank you, Becca Lynn.
in terms of that day, did you talk to the defendant about what your plans were after you dropped the kids off? Did you give him a play-by-play of what you'd be doing that night?
No.
And why not?
Because it wasn't any of his business. I wasn't in a relationship with him, so he didn't need to know what I was doing and where I was coming and going.
Turning your attention towards April 24th, April 25th, what day is your daughter's birthday?
April 25th.
And what was the plan between you and the defendant regarding who would have the kids for that special day for your daughter?
So we had come to an agreement that we would have separate birthday parties for her birthday.
And why is that?
Because I was not allowing Zach in my house. I was afraid of him, and I had suspicions that he was keeping tabs on me, so I just wanted to keep him as far away from me in that situation. So we agreed to have birthday parties at his house, one at his house and one at mine. He had bought our daughter a skateboard, and he wanted to present the skateboard to our daughter as a family. And so I agreed to meet them at his house to do that. And so the plan was that my daughter and the kids would stay at his house the night before her birthday. So then I could decorate the house and get everything else set up for her birthday party after his house. So the plan was then the next morning I would go to his house, meet the kids there, present the birthday present to Olivia or to our daughter, and then take the kids back home with me, and then we would have our birthday party there without him.
And On the night of the 24th, did the defendant take the kids to his house as planned?
Yes, he did.
And did you then have a company come to your house that night?
Yes, I invited Rosalito to come over.
And was he going to help you decorate for the birthday party?
Yes, we ate dinner and he helped me decorate.
And did Mr. Gutierrez spend the night that night?
Yes.
And did something happen in the early morning hours that caused you concern in terms of hearing something?
Yes. So we were getting ready to retire to go to bed. I don't know, it's like 2:30 in the morning. We just laid down, and then I heard the doorbell ring. And I was kind of like, what's that? And I got up, and we both got up and went to the door and I didn't see anything or anybody. So then I went to the window. I have like a bay window that was outside of my bedroom, and I kind of opened up the blinds and peeked out. And as I peeked out, I saw a black car going past the road right in front of the house. And I just assumed, knowing that Zach had a black car, that could have possibly been him. So that's my thought, was that, oh my goodness, he was here at the house and rang the doorbell or something.
And you indicated, obviously, Mr. Gutierrez was there that night. Was the plan for him to be at the party the next day?
No. Yeah, he was there that night. I kind of briefly told him I thought that my ex had been at the house. And so then that morning, he went out to his truck and he came back in and he was like, hey, did I go in my truck last night? It's like, no. And he's like, well, everything's all messed up in my car and things are like outside of my glove box and they're laying on my console. And he's like, I think he may have gotten in my car last night. I'm like, oh boy. So, we just kind of parted our ways. I said, I have to go to this birthday party. And we agreed to talk later.
We're just going to show you what's on State's Exhibit 1, photograph number 1. Do you remember, is this the truck that Mr. Gutierrez was driving or had driven to your house that night that was gone through, in his words?
Yes.
And was that with license plate, looks like Colorado BAZT26?
Yeah, Colorado plates.
Now, you had talked about what the plan was supposed to be for your daughter's birthday. What ended up actually happening on the 25th after the doorbell incident early that morning?
I went to his house and had the get together. And Zachariah's sister surprisingly came into town unexpectedly to surprise her daughter. Her daughter was very happy about that, and she was not very happy with me. She refused to hug me or kiss me that day. She didn't talk to me very much. I kind of had a feeling something was off, and that maybe she knew that Rosalito came over last night, but I didn't know how.
Isn't this whole thing about the daughter facts not in evidence because the daughter hasn't testified yet? Question mark. Again, I am an accountant. Finance Data is my love language. I'm not an attorney and not law enforcement. I'm just merely trying to understand.
So, you know, it was kind of awkward, but then we were getting ready to leave, and our daughter asked if her aunt and everybody could come over to our house. So I had agreed with the caveat that they would all stay outside and hang out on the deck, because I, again, did not want Zach in the house, and especially after having this feeling that my daughter was hating me, and it was her birthday, and it was just also weird. So, like I said, I agreed to
How
let
old
everybody
was
kind
the
of come back
daughter
to the house
at this
and
point?
hang outside. We opened presents, you know, had cake and everything, and then our daughter wanted to stay over at her aunt's house. So I agreed, you know, said that that was fine. And then, so as everybody was leaving, Zachariah wanted to stay and talk to me. And I said, well, can we talk with your family here? And he's like, no, they can go. And I said, no, I want to talk with your family here. And so he confronted me kind of at the door and said, you know, I had this premonition that you were with somebody else last night, and
Isn't that hearsay
you
also?
were wearing, you know, you were wearing this pink tank top, and you were listening to this song, and I know what song you were listening to, and come on, tell me, and just harassing me and badgering me about, you know, this premonition that he had, and oh, and I have these when, you know, when I break up with people, you know that, and you know, I'm like, I don't know what you must have been here last night. The only way you would have known any of this. And he's like, no, and then we got into some kind of back and forth about it, and he started walking away, and as he was walking away, he was like, yeah, his name is, and he just rattled off his name, his full name, and yelled it at me and said, and, you know, he's Mexican, and just rattled off things he should not have known. And so that I said, you know, you had to have been here. And he didn't tell me until he finally kind of came close to me and said, yeah, I was. I needed to know. And yeah, that was kind of the conversation.
I'm going to approach you with what's been marked as States Exhibit 51 and 52. Can you just tell me what these are?
Pictures of the inside of my house, birthday party with the decorations and my kids.
Judge, I would ask to publish these to the jury without using the envelope, given the minors.
Can I see them first?
Oh, absolutely. 51 and 52.
Now we're having a conversation about the gift that keeps on giving, girls aged 12 to 15. For the record, my son is almost 21, and I never had even close to the emotional roller coaster of the girls. Sigh. We've got about 18 minutes now before Nick starts his live stream.
Ms. Beecham, in these pictures, is that what the decorations look like the night that you and Mr. Gutierrez set up the night before the party?
Yes.
I wanted to put being a triplet mother on my resume on LinkedIn, especially when it comes to the question of how organized are you? Can you explain your organizational skills? Well, here. I do have to say that age 15 was absolutely the worst. I was ready to send a couple of them to like a military camp.
So it's State Exhibit 1 and 318.
Actually, I had a neighbor that had 5 kids, and I would think that would be harder than having multiples at one time. Because it's like, you know, here's the airplane. Here comes the airplane. Here
some
comes
videos
3
that have been
times.
recovered from the defendant's Motorola G6 cell phone.
Yes.
And were those shown to you at different points to see if you could identify anything in the videos as being your residence?
Yes.
And were you able to do that?
Yes.
So I'm going to play the first one, which is State's Exhibit 1, item number 318. Tell me what, if anything, you recognize from your home.
It's the patio back, looking into the kitchen. Like a back deck.
So when you say that
right there, that's the deck, and then there's a big, huge, sliding door that looks right into the kitchen, and then that goes, like if you look further, that looks even further into the living room.
And were you able to identify the decorations that are currently strung there as the same ones that you and Mr. Gutierrez had? Did you recognize the decorations that are seen in this video?
Yes, you can see the happy birthday string that's on the top there, that was in the picture. And some of the color at the top, though, red and grape paper.
Then I'm going to show you from State's Exhibit 1.
Sorry, just for the rule of completeness, I want to ensure it was that entire video, the video in its entirety played.
That 16-second clip of a video was played in its entirety. Now I'm going to show you from State's Exhibit 1, item number 319. And Council, I will also play this in its entirety. It is a 3-minute and 6-second video. And Ms. Beecham, let me know if you recognize anything.
We got a 3-minute video coming up. I think what I'm going to do is end after the 3-minute video so we have a chance to switch over and get settled into Nick's room. Does anybody know how long Nick's live stream is going to be? Because if it's... Does she testify all day? Does she testify tomorrow too? This is day 9.
That's the window that's looking so you can see into my living room. Those are curtains.
I'm laughing at Sea Swept until Nick passes out or throws up. All right, well, depending on how late it is, I can set up something later if anybody would like me to. Is this going to be like Blair Witch Project, where at the very end something bad happens?
So, Ms. Beecham, the first video that was shown was kind of, you could see a kind of a patio and then a sliding door. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So where is that in reference to your house? Like, what room is off of that looking into your home?
So that would be the back side of the house. So there's like a side stairs that.
Isn't there metadata pulled on the video that we can see? Or is that coming up in someone else's testimony? Something else I was going to ask for all of you smarty pants in the chat that know this case inside and out. For those of you who, and this is not a political thing at all, but there was a movie that came out called 2000 Mules by Dinesh D'Souza. And I think it came out in late 2021. And so the time frame was end 2020. So the technology was the same. But that movie, 2000 Mules, explains geofencing technology wherein you can, grab all of, cast a net, if you will, over a certain area and pick up all the cell phone within like a matter of 3 feet, the technology for that. So I'm just kind of curious. This was only a few months prior to that. And I can't remember how they obtained. They had to purchase the geofencing data. But I'm just curious, couldn't they have just done that for the days of the 17th through the 19th and been able to ascertain who pinged in the area? Question mark.
That would go up. And then the deck goes around the back of the house. So it would be looking on the back deck, which is kind of big. So the back side of the house. And then into the kitchen is where it looks directly into.
And then you said the second video was looking into your living room?
Hi, Feral
So
Housewife.
The side of the house here, there's
Look
two
at who the
windows.
witness is.
So
Your
that would have been
favorite.
one of those windows that you could see directly into the living room.
Now, prior to playing those videos, you indicated that while at your house, the defendant talked about a premonition regarding what you were wearing. How did he describe what you were wearing that day to your best of your recollection?
He described exactly what I was wearing, the exact color of my shirt, and exactly what I was wearing.
And you talked about him referencing music or something to that effect. What was he saying about that caused you any concern, if anything?
He named the song that we were listening to, and
Again, do we have confirmation
he
of these text
asked if
messages?
that was the song that we were listening to, and I told him initially it said no, and he said, oh yeah, well, let's see, let me in the house and I'll put it on, let's see what the last song you guys were listening to last night and you can prove it to me that you weren't. And I was like, no, that's crazy. But he named the song that we were listening to, so I knew that he had to have been listening or heard it or somewhere in the vicinity. So it was a newer song. He wouldn't have known like that was a song that I was listening to.
And do you recall what that song was?
Don't touch my truck.
Don't touch my truck. I haven't heard it. Have you guys heard the Bryce Leatherwood song called The Finger? If not, when we break here in just a moment,
Showing you State's Exhibit 204.
I suggest that
Now,
you
after
look it up.
the defendant tells you these things about his premonition and ultimately the details, and he leaves your residence, you guys continue to argue via text message.
Probably.
So, April 25th at 1:55 p.m., you tell him you're not a psychic. LOL, you're a stalker and not a good one.
LOL.
He responds back with, I didn't say I was. These types of things come to me mostly with separations. Stalk you, I am not stalking you. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, I have to pause because we
Then
got to go
there's
over
a-
to Nick. Oh boy. How's this for a cliffhanger? How's this for a cliffhanger? I'm not sure if you can see me because I am now under several layers of sweaters. I'm shivering. So, let's see. Where did I put it now? We are now going over to, where are we going? Who am I and why am I here? Let's see here. Oh my gosh. Someone is not paying attention. We are going to, he's live now. Okay. Since I'm new at this, and since it's not a exact redirect, there is a little spy emoji. And since you guys do that on other people's live streams, maybe you should just put the little spy emoji, you know, a few of them, and then sprinkle in some of these signs. Oh, it does say upcoming. Here, let me just, upcoming 2 minutes, 49 seconds. Oh my God, where did I go? Here. With the little spy emoji. Yes, the spy emoji. You're the crime spies. Bring your magnifying glasses. Over there. All right. Well, I'll be there with you in the chat. Thank you for joining me. I know this was really short. It was almost 3 hours. Huh. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? And I guess just depending on how that goes, we'll either resume this later today or tomorrow. Tomorrow is, I don't have a watch, the 30th. Tomorrow is Half Irish's birthday. P.S. All right, we'll see you over there in a moment. Goodbye for now.